Hello, welcome to Ian's Bricks, and today I'm going to talk about my recent experience as a Lego trader at the Cardiff Brick Festival. So this is nearly a couple of weeks ago now, and I actually have done another show since then, but I just thought I'd do the roundup because people do tell me that they like these roundup videos. So the Cardiff Brick Festival was held on the 18th of October. That was a Saturday, and it was at the Utilita Arena, right in the centre of Cardiff. If you know Cardiff, it literally is right in the city centre. That did make it slightly difficult to sort of get in and around. There's a terrible one-way system in Cardiff, which I found out. But anyway, so the event itself was on the Saturday, and I actually decided to stay overnight just because it was quite a long way for me to drive. It was around about a 3-hour journey. To be fair, the traffic on the Friday evening was fine. I thought it would be horrendous, but it was okay. And I stayed in it's called Zip by Premier Inn. It's just a very, very small basic room, but it was £25. And of course, when you have an overnight stay, you obviously don't want things to be too expensive. It literally is just somewhere to sleep. So I wanted to keep the cost down as much as I could. So pretty pleased I got that hotel for £25. So on the morning of the show, we can get in as traders from about 7:30. I arrived a little bit early, and I'm glad I did, because there wasn't a lot of room in the car park. You had to wear a high-vis jacket when you were in the car park, but unloading was fairly fine. And after that, I then had to leave and then find somewhere to park the car. That's when I got trapped in the one-way system. Yeah, unpacking was fairly normal. The arena was sort of split into, I say, a third for Brick Festival and 2/3 for the Comic Con, which was on at the same time. So it's a really, really big venue, and there had been a Brick Festival there before, which I had heard had been very, very good. So I just take my car when I go to these shows. Again, hiring a van would be more expensive and have more costs, but I can get quite a lot of things into my car, and in total I had 119 different Lego sets. So as you probably know, I deal generally in sealed Lego sets, from sort of little small promos and gifts with purchases to sort of big modular buildings and things like that. So a variety of different sizes and shapes of Lego sets of all different values. Now, on the day, I actually sold 64 of those sets, so slightly more than half of the sets that I took I did manage to sell. I'd say that's not too bad. You will generally find at a show you will sell around about 2/3 to a half of what you take. It depends what sells and what you take and all this kind of stuff. But so that did go very, very well. The show itself was very, very well attended. Lots of people came through the doors. The first hour for me was ridiculously crazy. It was so busy, but in a good way. I mean, it's just me running my stall. It's just sort of me there, and a lot of people obviously do. I tend to do a video before a show to tell people what sets I'm taking, and that does actually get a lot of people watching. People that are going to the shows will see what I'm taking, and quite often people will make a beeline for my stall, which I always appreciate, and they'll go to my stall first because they know what I've got, so they don't need to spend that time looking around a show. So I am lucky in that respect that I do have the YouTube channel. People do watch that, and if there is a show coming up, they will have a look at the sets that I'm taking. I do try and do one of those videos before every show. It doesn't always work out that I can, just because of work and other commitments get in the way, but in this particular instance it worked very, very well. So of those 64 sets that I sold, obviously the variety of different shapes and sizes, but these are the big sets that I sold. The biggest set I sold finally was 10261. It was the roller coaster, the Creator roller coaster. I've taken that to quite a few shows. I do tend to find with the larger, more expensive sets, they won't always sell straight away. They will take a few shows until those sets actually sell. So thank you to the lady that bought that. I also sold 75290. That's the Mos Eisley Cantina, and I sold that for £320. So the roller coaster, by the way, was £330. Yeah, again, just a guy bought that. Now, interestingly, the roller coaster and the cantina sold back to back. So literally, the lady came up, would like to buy the roller coaster. We sorted her out, put it in a bag, took the payment, and then literally the next guy, can I buy the Mos Eisley Cantina, please? And as Lego shows go, you want to sell a couple of big sets when you go to these shows. And for me, I think they were my two biggest sets that I had. So to sell them literally back to back was just excellent. So very, very good. So you can always tell it's going to be a good show when things like that happen. I also sold 10278, which is the modular build in the police station. I sold that for £260. Out of all of the sets that I took, that was the one that I made the most profit on per individual set. I think I bought that only a couple of years ago, maybe slightly more, for £136. I think it was from John Lewis. So I sold that for £260. So £124 sort of profit. Obviously, there are other costs involved in that, but that's kind of what I kind of work out for my profit. So that was the best one that I had profit-wise. The other two, obviously, so I sold for a lot more money, but the profits were a lot smaller just because those particular sets hadn't really increased that much in value. I also sold 75115, that's the Star Wars U-Wing set, for £199. This is a set that I picked up from somebody recently local to where I live who had a few sets to sell me. So I'm pleased to sell that one because it was quite an old set, quite an unusual set. I think the guy that bought it said he's really, really pleased that I had it because he'd seen the newer version of the U-Wing, didn't like it and wanted to get the old version, and I just happened to have it. So I managed to sell that. I also sold 75335, the BD1. Again, this is from the same, I bought this from the same guy, and this was a set that had been opened. So the box had been opened, the instructions had been opened, but all of the Lego bags were still sealed. Normally for a BD1, a sealed set, I'd be looking at selling it for around about £150, but I sold that particular one for £125 just because it had been opened. You can see how much of a discount you would get if a set's even just been opened, let alone sort of pre-built. So I didn't feel it fair to sort of charge the full price on that one. And the final big set over £100 that I sold was 75365, the Yavin 4 Rebel Base. I bought a few of these at the time. They have increased a little bit in value from what I bought them from. They're still way below recommended retail price. I think for those was £160-ish. So they're not even getting close to that. But luckily for me, I bought a lot of those at sort of £85 to £90. So there is a little bit of profit in those sets. As well as the big sets, there was quite a lot of smaller sets that I sold, obviously, including a few multiples. So I had 40548, which was the Spice Girls brick heads. I normally take 3 or 4 of those to a show because I've got so many of them. I sold 2 of those at £25 each. And there was also 40585, the World of Wonders. This is another set I picked up earlier in the year, and I sold 3 of those at £20 each. And also something that I sort of took last minute, it's something that just arrived the day before, and that was 40774, the Disney classic animation set. This is a promo that's on at the moment with Lego.com, but Disney had them early, and I bought a couple of things from Disney. The sets arrived, I think, on the Thursday afternoon or the Friday morning, and I took them straight out, priced them up, labelled them up, because I knew that people would want them because they were kind of an early promo. So I managed to sell 2 of those at £40 each, so that was pretty good. And promos do sell very, very well. I think in total I sold total of 12. So of the 64 sets I sold, 12 of them were promo sets that I'd got from Lego for basically for free, and that's how I sort of class them, because I don't actually pay for those sets any monetary value. Yes, I have to buy other sets, but those sets are worth what I paid for them sort of at the time. So I always class as the promo sets as sort of not costing me anything. So I had 12 of those that sold, from the smallest one, which was 40758, the Ferris wheel, which I sold for £10, to the biggest one that I sold was 40699, which was the record player. I actually found that by accident. I thought I'd sold them all, and I found one in my storage unit, and basically sold it for £45. So that's a very, very nice promo. I think that was only out last year, but it's quite difficult to get hold of now. Quite a big set as well, so not a bad price on that. Of course, I didn't sell everything. There were quite a lot of sets that didn't sell. 10497, the Galaxy Explorer, I had that on £130. That didn't sell at this particular event. As did 21325, the Medieval Blacksmith. I had that on £160. That didn't sell on the day. 75371, Chewbacca, £135. That didn't sell. Oh, sorry, £165 that one was. I do apologise. So maybe that was a little bit pricey for that one. Who knows? 76262, Captain America's Shield, had that on, that was £135. That didn't sell either. And the other big set that I had over £100 which didn't sell, 75018, the Jek 14 Starfighter, again a much older set, so maybe that might take a little bit while to sell on. So the thing that people want to know on these shows is, what did I take? So in total, and this was a good show for me, my total takings for the day was £3,310. Of that £3,310, of course, not all of that is profit. So we'll go through all the different figures. But of that money that I took, £2,809 was on credit card, on cards, and £501 was cash. So 15% cash, around about 85% card. Normally with these shows, it's more 25-75 split. So there were a lot more people paying by card for whatever reason. I always say to people, if you ever are going to a Lego show or selling Lego in any kind of way format at a stall or anything like that, you have to have a credit card reader. It's just a must. So yeah, that does bode quite well. So yes, always have a credit card reader. And the important thing to know as well is, obviously there are costs involved in having that credit card reader, which I'll get to in a little while. However, of that £3,310 that I took on the day, 2,400 of that was in the first hour. That's how busy my first hour was, and even though it was there were a lot of people in after 11 o'clock, it kind of really died with people not really spending an awful lot. People were buying the odd thing here and there, but compared to the first hour, which was crazy busy, the 11 o'clock till 12 was quieter. And then through the day I did make a few more sales, obviously, because it went up from 2,400 to 3,300, but obviously it wasn't quite the sort of day that I hoped to have. That first hour was so good, I thought, oh, if this continues, I'm going to end up selling everything. But unfortunately, it didn't work out like that. And sometimes shows can be like that. I've had shows where the first hour can be really quiet, the second hour is really busy, or vice versa. So it just really just depends. And for me, that's just how it ended up. I was relatively close to the front of the hall where the entrance was, so maybe that helped as well. People could see me as they came in, made a beeline for me, and then probably worked their way further down and the different stalls at the back of the hall as the day went on. So yeah, just very unusual for me to take that much. I think it was my best ever first hour at a show, certainly this year, and certainly one of the better ones I've had. I mean, normally £2,400 is what I'll take at a whole show, so to do that in the first hour, I was kind of on cloud nine, but as I say, it did slow down after that. So yes, I did very well at that show, and I was very pleased with my takings for the day. But of course, that isn't the profit that I made. There's a lot of different costs that you have to think about when you go to these shows. So of course, the biggest cost of anything are the cost of the sets, how much these sets cost me in the first place. And of all of those sets that I sold on the day, the cost of those sets to me was £1,860. So you can see, obviously, there's a lot of costs involved in those sets. So always bear that in mind when you're going to these shows. There are obviously costs of the sets, but other costs as well. The tables for the Brick Festival, they cost me £155. So what they normally do with Brick Festival is you pay for your deposit like well in advance. I would have paid for it like a year ago, and then about a month before the show you get an email saying, can you pay the rest of your money. I always go for 2 front tables and 1 backing table, and that normally costs me then another £135. So with a £20 deposit, that works out at £155. There was also petrol or gas for me to get to Cardiff, quite a long way for me to go, quite a long journey. It was, as I said, a good 3 hours there, 3 hours back, and so that would have cost me around about £30-ish in petrol or gas. And there was also the hotel, of course, which I talked about earlier, which cost me £25. And also there was food. So I have counted food on this one. There was, I keep it simple. I just like to go to McDonald's on the way there and on the way back. I know it's not great having McDonald's all the time, but it's quick, it's easy, at the side of the road. You're not going to go far. And normally with these things, I don't want to sit down for a meal on my own either. I don't like doing that. So and a bit of lunch as well. So yeah, £30 in food. And there are also some miscellaneous costs in this particular haul. I ordered some plastic bags and some ink for my printer to print off my labels, and they cost me £20. So I've included that in this particular one because I have to include it at some stage, so I decided to include it in this one. On top of that, of course, I talked about the card charges earlier. So my card reader is SumUp, and that cost me that basically charges me 1.69% on anything that I take on the credit card. So that worked out for the money that I took on the card at £47.50. So there's an extra cost as well that you have to factor in. So in total, my total costs were £2,167.50, which means that my net profit was £1,142.50, which I don't think is too bad at all. Yes, I haven't included my time, which if you do that, I'm probably on about £10 an hour. But for me, it's all about sort of just selling some stuff and then making that money, and then so I'm able to buy more stuff in the future. Obviously, we've got Black Friday and all these special deals and discounts coming up soon. So I've got a little bit of money set aside for that. But yeah, all in all, a very, very good show for me. I don't think I've had a profit over £1,000 probably since the spring. So I know it's been, I've done a few of these recently where my profits have been £500-600, maybe £900. So it was nice to get a profit of over £1,000 for this particular show. And again, I suppose it helps with some of the sets that I managed to sell. Things like the police station, which had a good profit. Things like those promo sets, which are all kind of profit really. So it was good to be able to make a decent profit at this show. But I say most of that I'll end up spending that on more Lego, and it'll all go to more shows in the future. So it's kind of a vicious circle for me where I just keep spending the profit on more Lego. Quite a lot of people at the show came up to say hello. I did sell quite a few of my Ian's bricks, Lego bricks that I've been selling at shows, and obviously giving quite a few away. If someone spends over £100, they'll get the blue brick for free. And I think the first hour I was giving loads of them where I think, oh, I'm going to run out of these, but no, I didn't. I had plenty with me. So thank you to all the people that did buy those bricks, and if you did get a blue brick for spending over £100, I hope you're going to treasure it, because they're quite rare and not many people do get those. As a show, I would definitely think about going to Cardiff again. Yes, it's a little bit of a trek for me to get to, but I think there's a decent population in and around Cardiff and South Wales. People like to go to these brick shows. I do find that once I've been sort of 2, 3 or 4 different shows with Brick Festival, you do tend to find that the numbers do drop off a little bit. I think that was probably only the second, maybe third show there over the years. I don't know, someone might be able to correct me in the comments, but it's still a relatively new show as far as I can tell. Yeah, some logistics with parking and things, but it wasn't the worst I've ever had to deal with. Oh, one thing I forgot actually, I'm going to have to take some money off my profit because there was parking, and I think it cost me £15 for the day. So I need to knock £15 off my profit, which is still takes me to what, 11.27.50, but whatever. I totally forgot about the parking costs. There was a car park right next door, but it was an NCP and they're very expensive. But because you're right in the city centre of Cardiff, there really were no alternatives. It was just, pay up, or that's what you have to do, unfortunately, at some of these events. So yes, I'm glad I remembered that at the end. So yeah, a little bit more money on my profit, but never mind, it's still a decent profit on the day. So that was the Cardiff Brick Festival. I really enjoyed the day. It was, yes, a long way to go, an overnight stay, so there's a lot of time for me. It was nice it was on the Saturday, because it meant that I had the Sunday free to do all the stuff. I was pretty tired on the Saturday night, but all in all, it went very, very well. Thank you to all the people that bought stuff off me on the day, and yeah, I do hope you enjoyed this video with my roundup of the Cardiff Brick Festival. Thank you very, very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye for now.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe.